Hey, movie fans. So the only thing I'm going to discuss today is why the Flash isn't doing well at the box office, and it's doing bad. I mean, it had a 55 opening, a really low opening for a comic movie that cost 200 plus. And it probably spent 100 on marketing. I'm guessing. Then it had a 73% drop off in the second week. And before I talk about why this movie just isn't working at the box office for a lot of people, why it's not doing well, I want to point out this thing here is that this is the track record with this DCU franchise that has had second week drop offs. And I think this also shows again why I said this in the past video, why this DCU never fully connected with the general public when it comes to audience, critics, box office wise. I mean, you had Man of Steel, which had a good opening, and then took a 64% drop off in the second week. And you want, if your movie takes a 50 to 60% drop off in this week, in the second week, that's a great sign. 'Cause it shows that people are coming back to it. If it takes even a drop off that's below 50%, that's amazing. But you don't want your movie taking a more than 60% drop off in the second week. And Man of Steel took a 64%. Batman v Superman opened big and took a 68%. The Suicide Squad took a 70%. Wonder Woman 1984 took a big drop off in the second week. Now, Wonder Woman 1984 and The Suicide Squad were released on HBO Max at the same time, so you can put asterisks with those movies, saying how, there was some circumstances with those two movies. But again, that's like four movies. You got Shazam 2, which took a more than 60% drop off in the second week. So this is a pattern with the DCU films, which shows that people aren't coming back a second time to see the movies a lot. So I just wanted to point that out. That's no reason why I think why this shows why the DCU just never fully connected with the general public like the MCU did when it comes to box office, audience, critics. There was something missing there that's not connecting to the general public. Now we talk about the reason why I think this movie isn't doing well at the box office. Number one for me is that I love this movie, but it is not getting amazing reviews from the critics. It's getting good reviews. It has a 65%, which isn't bad on Rotten Tomatoes. It has an 80% with the audience, which means the audience are connected more to this movie than the critics are. But it's not getting like great reviews from critics like Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 is, or Spider-Verse was, where those two movies were getting great reviews from critics and audience, which meant people were going back to constantly see the movies, and they were having good holds during the weeks where they wouldn't take big drop offs week in and week out. So, like, I love this movie, but at the end of the day, I can admit it's not getting the type of reviews that I think the movie deserves to get. Not everybody's loving it. The next thing I'll say, another reason why this movie is not working, is that Michael Keaton, as much as I love seeing him back as Batman, I do. Not everybody grew up with those Batman movies. And I've been example of Spider-Man No Way Home in this, where that movie did fantastic. And that movie had a big drop off in the second week, but I want to point out that movie is that movie was front loaded. It had like a 260 opening, had one of the biggest openings in history, and it still had legs where it made 1.9. But the reason why that worked with Spider-Man is because Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man movies are more recent. They're from the 2000s. Michael Keaton's two Batman movies, you have the first one from like 1989, one from 1992. I think it's 1992. I might be off on the Batman Returns date there. But they're both really old movies. And I feel like most people that are excited for Michael Keaton are the older people, not the younger people. Because it's not recent. So it's like, yeah, I'm excited for Michael Keaton to come back as Batman. I'm 33, but there's a lot of people probably, that are younger or even in the early 30s that didn't grow up with those Batman movies. So I think you have less younger people seeing this movie, and it's more the older people that are excited for Michael Keaton to come back. So I think that's another thing. I think they underestimated how many people would be actually excited to see Michael Keaton come back, because it's just a lot of people didn't grow up with those Tim Burton Batman movies. Another reason would be that Ezra Miller. A lot of people, I think his name is damaged right now. I don't think a lot of people like him very much. I'm not a fan of Maida, and a lot of people aren't going to see this movie because of him. That definitely affected the movie, and this ties back to that is the fact that he couldn't do any promotion for this movie, Ezra Miller. You had a movie where your title character couldn't do any interviews. They skipped the red carpet premiere because he couldn't do any interviews because if he did them, people just asked him about all the stuff that's been going on with him, not about the movie. And it's one of those things where that's going to affect the box office too, because if you have a lead actor who can't promote the movie, who's the lead title character, and that's going to hurt the box office. So it's just you have that stuff too with Ezra Miller. But people aren't going to the movie because they don't want to see him, and the fact that you have it's your lead actor that can't talk about the movie. So another reason why he should not be back as Flash, in my opinion. This is another reason why you don't bring him back. So that's another reason why this movie's not doing well. Another thing is the effects. Look, I love this movie. And I know Director came out with a creative reason for why he made the Speed Force look like that. But even outside of the Speed Force in the movie, even with like the baby scene at the beginning, the effects look bad. I love this movie, but I can put that aside and admit and agree with everybody else. The effects are not the greatest. You know, they do look like PS2 graphics, and you can say that's a creative decision, but a lot of people, aren't going to buy that. And even I can like say, yeah, that's a creative decision. I respect you trying to make that choice, but it didn't work for a lot of people. And at the end of the day, the effects are so bad. So I think definitely impacting the enjoyment of the movie for a lot of people, where the effects look so ugly and bad in this movie. That's people, it's affecting the quality of the movie. Another thing why this movie isn't doing well is that, and this is a two-sided thing where I think connecting it back to Man of Steel is a bad and good thing. What I mean by that is that there are Zack Snyder fans, and this because he does have a small fan base for his movies that are pissed that they're wasting everything he did. So you have that side that aren't happy they're wasting all the Zack Snyder stuff that he did in his movies. Then you have the other side that just don't care about it connecting to Man of Steel. And I've said this multiple times about Man of Steel. It was a divisive movie when it came out. There's some people out there that love it's connected to Man of Steel. I appreciate it's connected to Man of Steel, not because I love the movie, just because it was the first DCU movie in this version of the DC universe. But there's people out there who didn't love it. There's a lot of people out there that didn't love Man of Steel and just don't care about it connecting to that movie. Like it doesn't mean anything to them. And I just think, like I said, there's people out there who just like really going to connect to that movie, a movie I didn't love, and there's people out there who love it connected to Man of Steel because half the critics did love that movie. So it's one of those two things where there's like two sides to that are complete opposites. So that's another thing. And I think another reason, but yeah, I think that's all the reasons for this movie. I would say why it's just not connecting to the general public, and to me, there's like multiple, and to me, there's multiple reasons for this specific movie why this specific movie isn't doing well at the box office. It's not getting the greatest reviews. It's getting good reviews, but it isn't getting beloved. Oh, and this is the last thing. I think they overhyped this movie, and this is something I think the way to market it, where they showed an incomplete version of CinemaCon, where you had fans that loved it. And then you have David Zaslav, the head of the studio, saying he like watched it 3 times and he thought it was the greatest comic movie of all time. You had James Gunn calling it one of the greatest comic movies of all time. You had Tom Cruise praising the movie too, and he watched it saying he loved it. And I think it backfired on them. I think, look, when you hype a movie up and you have multiple people calling it one of the greatest comic movie of all time before it comes out, to me, you hype it up to a point where people don't come out feeling like it's one of the greatest comic movies of all time. Like I love the movie, but would I call it one of the greatest comic movies of all time? No, because there is weaknesses to this movie. It's one of my favorite movies to see, but there is criticisms I get. But when you overhype a movie to that extent by multiple people, by the head of the studio, James Gunn, Tom Cruise even said something about the movie. When you overhype a movie to the point, then and people to that point, and people go in the movie and they come out disappointed, not feeling like it's one of the greatest comic movies of all time, then in my opinion, your marketing backfired on you because people end up feeling disappointed that it's not one of the greatest comic movies of all time. So it's one of those things where I think the way they marketed it just didn't work in the way they wanted it to. Because if you're gonna have all these people say it's one of the greatest comic movies of all time, you better hope people feel that way when they come out of it because you overhyped it to a ridiculous extent. This movie. So those are all reasons why. Like I said, I think critic wise, it's not getting great reviews. I love it, but it's not a movie that everybody's loving with the critics. I mean, it's 65%, so it shows. Another thing is the Ezra Miller drama, and the fact you can't promote the movie when your lead actor can't do any interviews. Michael Keaton, where older people are more excited to see Michael Keaton back who didn't grow up with those Batman movies. A lot of young people didn't see those original Batman movies. Because the reviews it's not having legs where people want to go back and see the second time. The bad effects, I think, are ruining the enjoyment of the movie for a lot of people. But you love the movie or not, you can't disagree with the effects looking bad. And I think, like I said, I think half the people are excited by the fact connected to Man of Steel, and I think there's other people who aren't excited as connected to Man of Steel, which shows why I said Man of Steel was a very divisive response to that movie when it came out. And the last, like I said, the way they overhyped this movie backfired on them. So overall, this is my opinion. This is my personal opinion, and why I said look, there's not one reason why this movie's not doing well. There are multiple reasons why this movie's not connecting. This specific movie, why it's not connecting to people. It sucks. I love the movie. I wish it did better, but those are just my personal opinion on why this movie's just not working at the box office for people. Until next time, movie fans.